Mr. Jefferson, I am here to get a better understanding of this proposed amendment to our Constitution.
Yes, Mr. President. It is called the Solon Amendment, named after the ancient Greek sage who is credited with inventing democracy over 2,000 years ago.
Well, I was beginning to think we were going to have to reinvent it. Tell me what it is supposed to do.
In short, it is meant to reduce the pernicious influence money has had on our elective processes, and by extension our government. It is meant to make our representatives answerable only to the people they represent. The citizens cannot have representation bought out from under them, and their representatives cannot have their loyalty to their ideals or to their constituents sold off to the highest bidder.
Well, it is well said that a man cannot serve two masters, and money certainly ties a man down with heavy chains if he becomes its servant. And if you are a public servant, it is clear where your loyalty should lay.
Yes, but money has been too great a temptress for too many of our public servants. I am afraid it is time we draw a very distinct line into our Constitution to prevent this in no uncertain terms.
Tom, I am afraid you are right. What is it that you propose be done?
Well, the Solon Amendment is drawn up into 4 distinct clauses. Let me explain them to you one at a time.
Please do.
The first clause states that all political campaign contributions should derive solely from registered voters within the district, territory or state that the candidate is seeking to represent.
That seems obvious enough.
The offices of our elected officials were created by we, the people, under the U.S. Constitution to represent the interests of citizens within a certain geographic area and see that those interests were maintained and forwarded. By accepting campaign contributions from citizens outside the representative's district, from non-citizens, from corporate entities, etc., the officeholder has had their attention divided, and has become beholden to interests outside of, and often counter to, the interests of the citizens within the districts or states that they are supposed to represent.
Shameful and disgusting.
It certainly is. In the second clause, it is stated that contributions from registered voters shall be limited to a single candidate per office in each primary or general election.
Again, that seems obvious. Why would someone want to donate to more than one candidate in an election, unless he is simply wanting to buy the favors of the office?
Exactly. The only obvious reason is to have whoever wins feel beholden to them. In other words, legalized bribery on the part of the contributor, and influence peddling on the part of the candidate.
Such corruption should be anathema in a republic such as ours. Our public servants must be held to a higher ideal. There is so much money being batted about in these campaigns, however. How can we get the representatives to focus on the people once more?
Well, in the third clause of the amendment, it is stated that the total value of all political contributions, monetary or of material value, given by a registered voter during a calendar year shall not exceed 10% of the average per capita income, as determined by the most recent United States Census.
How much would that be, exactly?
Well, the U.S. average per capita income according to the 2010 census was $39,945, so the limit on anyone's yearly contributions would be $3,995. That figure would be the same whether you are the richest person in the entire country or a day laborer or a farmhand.
Well, I am sure the opinions of the great personages of our times will still be sought out, but now it will be because you respect their intellect, their ideas, their character, not because you crave their money in your campaign war chest. I detest seeing our highest offices of public trust auctioned off to the highest bidder.
So do the citizens who have been taking to the streets, frustrated that their government no longer seems to represent them in the least, but has been sold out to the highest bidder.
Well, we have certainly been struggling under the megaphone effect, in the fact that unlimited money in political campaigns tilts the playing field towards the candidates with the most money, and as you have pointed out, most of this money is currently coming from outside the district, state or territory that these candidates are seeking to represent.
You are certainly right, Mr. President. Currently, the political debate is not won by the most reasonable position, but by the position that can drown out all opposing positions by virtue of sheer quantity and volume, making it appear that there are no other positions, or that to support another position would be hopeless. The casual observer mistakes the volume and quantity of the message for inevitability, and ignores or ceases to seek out alternatives, or feels alienated from the entire political process.
That is not what we fought a revolution for, was it, Mr. Jefferson?
Not at all, President Washington. We fought a revolution, and later a civil war, and foreign wars against imperial and totalitarian powers, so that government of the people, by the people, and for the people should not vanish from the face of the earth, as one of your successors so eloquently put it.
Ah, so there are still statesmen in our future, eh, Tom? But the volume and noise in these campaigns of late are quite troubling. But still I am afraid one might interpret your prohibition against throwing money into these campaigns willy-nilly as a way to stifle the speech of certain individuals. I wouldn't want to see the pendulum swing too far in the opposite direction, Mr. Jefferson.
Ah, well, that is covered in our final clause. Because things are so monetized now, with certain individuals commanding huge speaking fees, etc., the fourth clause states that this limit on monetary and material contributions shall not be construed to limit a registered voter, or any other citizen, from contributing any amount of their personal time or labor to any political cause or candidate of their choosing, or in any other way limit the rights of speech or assembly.
And how does that work exactly?
This clause was added lest someone say that, for example, you, President Washington, charge a speaking fee of $10,000 an hour, so you can only speak on behalf of any political candidate in a public forum for no more than 20 minutes total per year.
That is what I was afraid of, even though I cannot imagine charging such a preposterous fee myself.
Can you imagine? At any rate, if a wealthy or influential supporter wants to travel for a month with the candidate of their choice and speak from the stump, he or she may do so without any limits on his or her personal rights to speak or assemble. However, the wealthy contributor couldn't hire 10,000 door knockers at $8 an hour to go out and canvass neighborhoods on behalf of their candidate. That would obviously be a contribution of monetary value far exceeding our earlier determined limit. However, he or she could personally go door to door, or make phone calls, or public speeches, or write op-ed pieces or letters to the editor, or post a blog on the internet, to their heart's content. However, they couldn't purchase $1 million worth of airtime to run commercials endorsing the candidate. Again, this would be a contribution of monetary value. But if the candidate can get 250 contributors to donate the full $3,995, they could buy the airtime to run the endorsement ad.
Ah, I see. So no person shall have disproportionate influence over the election process from a monetary standpoint. They could only have a disproportionate influence by the weight of their character and the strength of their ideas.
Exactly. And that is the recipe we need to make this a strong democratic republic once again. I am afraid the house we built is in need of some restoration, Mr. President.
Indeed it is, Tom. But what can the good citizens do to get this fresh idea in place?
Well, as you may very well know, there are two means of getting an amendment added to the Constitution. It can be passed by 2/3 of both houses of Congress, and then ratified by 3/4 of the state legislatures, or the state legislatures themselves can call for a constitutional convention. This convention would have to be called by 2/3 of the state legislatures, and any amendments or changes they pass would have to be ratified by 3/4 of the state legislatures.
I would think it is going to be difficult to get incumbent legislators to legislate away the money to which they are so addicted.
That is why an amendment is so desperately needed. Most legislation so far proposed has only been small bandages on gaping wounds.
Indeed.
If incumbents won't support this, perhaps challengers will, and if not at the federal level, perhaps at the state level we will find those less invested in enriching their campaign coffers, and more interested in forwarding the republic.
Certainly the solution you propose will have to be advanced from all angles.
Indeed, it is hard to know where we will find support, and where we will find resistance. We must ask and we must receive answers though. If a candidate or representative expresses support, we must hold them to it. And if a candidate or representative opposes the measure, we must press them to tell us why, and what portions they find objectionable. Let the debate be open and let it be clear.
Yes, Tom. It would seem there are voices both on the left and on the right that would welcome this change. Citizens are fed up with both of the major parties, and representatives from both have been more concerned with raising campaign contributions than actually listening to the voters for far too long.
It is indeed time our representatives became exactly that once again.
Precisely.